stressful. Okay. Now the correlation of this is because if you are looking for an ideal situation, as I said, if you have a problem statement who come back and says, I have this XYZ problem. Like for us, our hypothesis started, Battery and Greylock and the investor said, we are not going to give you any money. Whatever was invested when we came in, that's the only pool that you have. If you want to build any initiatives, you have to take, you cannot use that money to burn, you manage your business from operating income. So my problem became, how do I manage because we are a 15-year-old company. So we are cash generating, but loss making. So now how do I manage my cash flow? So my problem became receivables. I lived that problem. Okay. Then can I validate the hypothesis that if I live that problem, is someone else also having the same problem? Okay. Few people started saying it is the same problem. Right? But there are certain companies, the chances of your failure are higher, like especially now with the AI generation, so many things are happening on the technology. I can use this technology to do something, creates very fancy stuff. Right? Because I worked in Microsoft, I worked in IBM, I worked in Google, I worked here, I worked there. I know how the technology works and I'm going to build a product. Now I'm going to build and you're going to put all your effort. Now I'm going to start force fitting that. Okay? Oh, do you have this problem? I have built this product. Do you need this product? I have built this product. Do you need this product? No, it doesn't work like that. Right? So when you see a group photograph, okay, and we have taken this group photograph, and I share with everybody the same group photograph. What will you do first? It's a digital photograph. What will you do? Right? So you want to see. So when you are looking from an ICP point of view, and you're going to go for the customer, he's going to look at my problem, is it going to get solved or no? If not, they're going to just discount you. Because you're coming with something cookie cutter and say, boss, I've built this. Does it make sense? Says, okay, nice, good, move on. Right? It's a harder journey, guys. Okay? So, and there is a way to handle this as well. As I said, it's a little trickier. This becomes slightly easier if you're going to go for a cycle. Make sense? All right. So, now this is I'm going to spend more time on this formula. Okay, it's called, it may look like a mathematical formula, but it has a very simple meaning, because we talked about the problem statement first, right? So when you are approaching and meeting customers in different industries and you want to scale the business, and I'm assuming you all are in B2B SaaS, or you're at a B2B space. Anyone is in B2C? All right, perfect. So everybody's in B2B space. When you're going to sell in B2B, you'll have different verticals that you're going to sell to. If you're going to build a horizontal product, it will go across industries. If you're going to build a vertical product, you say, I'm going to build only for banking, or I'm going to build only for insurance, or I'm going to build only for, say, pharma, and so on and so forth. Right? Now, typically, when you are going and looking for a problem statement, okay, how repeatable that problem statement is, which means a banker will have a banking problem and it will not be an insurance problem. I was actually sitting with a startup company, and they are like almost 7-8 years in the business, okay, and I could see how the struggle happens. They're very successful in banking. Now trying to replicate that in insurance didn't work. They're struggling now, and that's why, because so many parameters have changed. Bankers have a different way of business. Both are in the business of risk, right? But insurance problem statement is very different, and the banking problem is very different. Then the technology problem, company's problem statement is very different, right? So if you have to build the repeatability, what is the problem statement that you're trying to address? And let's take within that some examples. Okay, the problem statement have to fall into 3 categories. Okay, and that will have a significant correlation to impact that you're going to create and the value that you're going to create. First problem, when you go and talk to the customer and you're looking at solving it, is it going to help improve the customer's revenue at a very high level. Right? Second, are you going to go and help the customer reduce the costs? I'm going to reduce the people for you. Third, I'm going to help you improve the customer satisfaction of the customer. Okay, and again, customer satisfaction will have linkages to both revenue and cost. How efficiently you're going to, because a high set of dissatisfied customer can drain your organization. Churn will go high, and your energy to solve that becomes very high. So everything, these three things, these are at a very high level. Now you can go into some other areas. Okay, so for instance, you pick up an industry that has a very high compliance. If you don't comply, the impact on cost will be very high. Right? Or I'm in account receivable space. Right? Everybody's got account receivable problem today. Every company, right? But the way account receivable is managed in FMCG is very different than the way it is managed in other industries, for instance. Okay? Or the way account receivable is managed in a tech company is very different than a manufacturing company. Though at a prima facie everything looks so similar. Right? So it's very important that you categorize it, define the problem statement. Okay, that customer's got a problem. Okay, I have some problem. And then your job is where the problem fit into. Is it on the cost side, revenue side, or customer satisfaction side? Now, if you have a problem, you should also have a motivation to solve that problem. Right? Like for instance, how will I give? Every company in receivables have a problem, but they may not be motivated to solve it because I'm using spreadsheets to manage it. I'm happy with it. Right? I heard you're doing something on the predictability with heart attack. I'm ready to live with that problem. Why will I take the stress if I know 2 years down the line I'm going to get a heart attack? I'm happy to live with that problem. Okay, so that's another option. So you need to find a customer who's got a problem. Fair enough. Okay, everybody's got a problem, but will that person have a motivation to solve it? Okay, now that becomes a second criteria. Third, do they have money to pay you? Nothing comes free. Do they have money to pay you? Okay, is the another important, and more so. Okay, especially if you are India centric. Especially if you are India centric, though it is applicable everywhere. Do they have motivation and willingness to pay you to solve the problem? Okay, I have seen customers wherein we have tried to solve the problem. Now I've become more matured. Earlier I wouldn't care much when I was in IBM, when I was in or tech process, because we had money. So the sales resources, the productivity measurement was very different. But when you're founders, you don't have enough money. Okay, there is one simple formula you have to keep in mind. C, 5P, S. It's not in this slide. Our first job, when we have an idea or we are trying to solve a problem, we need capital. That's the first starting point. After the capital, we focus on people. We start hiring people. That's the first P. Right? After we get the people, then we start building product. That's the second P. Right? Then we decide which market I'm targeting, the place. That's the third P. Okay? The fourth, because I've picked up the market, it's the price. Right? Fifth is how I'm going to promote that product. After I promote, I get the customer, I'm going to service the product. C, 5P, S. Keep that in mind. It goes in the order. Now, what's the linkage between the market when I say willingness to pay? The willingness to pay, at least in my journey, I figured it out when I started Capedex. I thought this customer is having a problem. He's not able to collect his payment on time. They're bleeding, but he's ready to live with that problem. His willingness to pay was just not the price. So that means, am I in the right, why is the motivation not there? Why is the willingness to not pay? Same, I have identified the customer. right? If you start focusing on that customer again and again, you may find you're draining yourself because you're not going to get that customer, right? So this is one very important problem area that you need to focus on. What's the problem? Is there a motivation? Is there a willingness to pay? Right? These three important criteria. That's how you're going to make money. The next comes within your organization. This is now your internal. You have people, okay? Your ability. Can you solve the problem? And can you create 10x impact? Whatever, 5x or 10x impact by solving the problem. Okay, what does that 10x means? If they invest $1, can you give them $5 to $10 if it's a revenue problem that you're solving? If it's $1 you're going to reduce on the cost side of it, can you reduce $5 or $10 of their cost? Then they're happy to pay. Right? If they're going to improve the customer satisfaction, again, you can correlate to both. Surprisingly, when I started Capedex, everybody said, India mein paisa denge re. They won't pay. Okay, there was a set of customers. But we were surprised when we started closing deals which are like 10K, 15K, 20K US dollars. Right? But it was clearly driven around these three philosophy, repeatable, and what impact we are creating. Right? 1x, 5x. I said, if I'm giving you 10x, you give me this much money in return. Right? So you need to decide what's your ability. Is your product creating that impact in this criteria? Now, another important after. Now you said I have the problem, I have the motive. I know this customer has the motivation and their willingness to pay is there. I have also solved this and it will create an impact. Question now is when. The biggest problem in B2B sales when you start onboarding is indecision. It's not competition. What's the biggest problem? Indecision. And you will experience that. You try and go and sell to the customer, they will say, oh, I have this option, I have that option, I'm going to evaluate, because it's not one individual. A committee or a people, they come and take decisions. And it paralyzes that entire process, and then sometimes they come back, oh, what is the best thing that you do? Chal raha hai na? Right? Let's move on. We'll revisit this again. So what's the biggest problem? Indecision. So the factor that is, what's the trigger? What's the compelling, motivating factor or compelling reason that you're going to find out in this series of activities that you're evaluating that this customer or this will buy? Clear? So what's the trigger? And whether that trigger is repeatable again. Right? So this becomes the customer want to solve it now and willing to solve it with you. That's also important. Okay? Now comes last part, repeatable. Now can all this, you make it repeatable? If you get this, if you start identifying these characteristics, and we'll go through how to do that as well. But at a concept level, if anything that's going wrong, you will find out where am I going wrong. If you build a product, okay, and now you're approaching, I'm looking for a customer, you need to see where the problem statement are. If you've picked up a problem and now you have to solve it and you want to build it, you know where to look at. So take a quick 5 minutes pause. Any questions on this before I move to the next slide? Yeah. So if you apply Saurav's question, okay, the biggest thing as human psychology, this is not corporate psychology, it's human psychology, is fear of missing out. Okay. Now, when you're dealing in B2B, you're dealing, there are two kinds of people that you will deal with at a very high level. One who care for company, okay, and one who care for himself or herself. Right? Higher you go in the organization hierarchy, they will show first care for the company. Lower you go in the organization hierarchy, they'll care for themselves first and then for the company. Right? Accordingly, a motivator will change. What will motivate them? Right? So that's one philosophy. If you look at how individuals buy, and okay, because ultimately it's not company buying, within the company individuals buy. when you buy a particular product, let's take an example. You're a bike freak, you love bikes, okay, and you want to buy a bullet bike. Whom would you refer to? One who's buying cars, or one who's buying small scooties? You'll go and find where the Bullet Club is, and you'll go there. It's a tribe. Now, in the friend circle of yours, you have taken one bike, second guy has taken a bike, then out of 10, 8 will say, where should I also buy a bike, or I will be out of the tribe? The first factor that it plays out is, am I missing out something? What fun I'm missing out? So that's one motivator that in B2B sales cycle or buying cycle is, am I missing? What is it that other companies gaining by going with you? The trigger. Why that made, what that company made to go with you and not with someone else? The trigger. The fear of missing out becomes a great motivator. You can on a sales cycle basis, there are different motivators that you can create. Okay, you can also look for levers. When you're looking at a problem and the motivation, there could be compliance trigger. Okay, just find out their balance sheet if there's a cost reduction motivator. Okay, in India, cost reduction doesn't make that much a bigger motivator because the cost of resource is so low, you cannot build that as a lever. Revenue becomes a bigger lever than cost. Okay, especially in a market like India. US, it's a very different story, right? So depending on what market you play, these levers will make, but the motivator will change, and you can influence the motivator in a combination of your ICP. If you have found an ICP that has regulators putting a gun on their head and they have no choice, there's a far higher motivator. Got it? Should I move to is this? So one of my P changed completely. What have we built for India? It's very different. Okay, and we cannot afford to put a sales team in the US. If you have to get it done, you have to get it done out of India. So everything changed. We closed our deals in US. Okay, but it took us 7 to 8 months to get a first deal after I came back to India. Now, and Saurabh knows, we discussed this. I said, we're not there. I said, we're not, but we will get it. Because now I knew what my ICP is. I knew my ICP what is to be there. I don't have the product. So I went, as I said, no, we're going to oscillate between the product and the problem. Now I had the product. My market changed. I said, do you have this product? Do you have this problem? I had to tweak few things. But for me to study that, you have to really, it's like there is another interesting book you should read, Art of War, written by Sun Tzu, if you would have heard this book, right? Again, good strategy book. I had to change the strategy.
So your pricing model is per transaction or percentage of the revenue?
Per transaction or percentage of the revenue, right? Or for one of the component of the product. There is traditional SaaS product which is per user. Okay? But in India, per user makes more sense for them. US, when I pitched per transaction, they were willing to pay me per transaction. So we have to adapt. Does it make sense? Yeah. So if you are able to get these segments right, you will be able to help define your ICP in a more proper way. Okay. When you are taking your and as founder, you need not only think from your perspective alone. Okay. When you're defining an ICP, you also have to look at people that you're going to hire and build. In B2B, and as you're going to embrace AI, one very important aspect that you have to learn is AI will solve a lot of problems. Okay, it's like the electricity, the way of invention of electricity is what the AI is going to do for industries. But you will only do a better justice when you're going to build your domain expertise. Otherwise, you will end up in a trap. I have AI, and you will follow. Everybody's in the AI world. I have to also follow AI. Only then my investors will listen to me. Trust me, that's also a trap. Okay, I've spoken to some of the founders. If I don't have AI story, they won't invest me. I have to do something on AI. Don't get into that trap, right? But first, domain expertise. What problem you're going to solve even with AI, right? So it's very important that when you are looking at your organization, when you're defining ICP, you also have to build domain expertise in B2B. In B2B, if you don't have the domain expertise, your product some stage will start faltering. Your problem statement will get colluded. Okay, you will not be able to build repeatability because the problem itself is so fuzzy and cloudy because you're lacking the expertise. Right? With this minimum viable segment, you will be able to build a better go-to-market and replicate it. If it works for one segment, it will work for another segment as well, but you need to know how to repeat it. Okay, so we started in tech. Okay, then we moved into business services. We were able to crack, the hardest customer is the first customer. All right. So then we cracked, among the top 5, we decided to crack 1 in the top 5. If you get top 5 of the, then you don't have to sell to other lower customers. They will come because you have the bigger one. So your repeatability becomes a better model. Your sales messaging becomes better model. Simple concepts, yeah. And you have to visualize a triangle, right? Top of the triangle are your enterprise customers. Bottom is big market, which is the SME of the world, and there's a middle market. Earlier I had the hypothesis middle market is bad. Don't get trapped either top or bottom, and mid market could be a problem statement. I had to correct myself. Okay, so even mid market can be a lucrative business if you get the market model of ICP and repeatability right. Okay, when you are, if you're lucky, if you are able to get a repeatable at the SME level, because then you can start scaling with a particular model. Okay, it got to be a product-led model. Okay, cannot afford to do lot of human touch, put as much technology as possible if it's a bottom of the pyramid product. But at some stage when you're in middle, you still have to think through what would be your strategy to either go down or up, because the expectation of, as founders, we'll expect the middle market should buy as if they are the SME space. My deal should get quickly closed, I need to onboard them very quickly, and so on and so forth. Customer in the middle market will start expecting, boss, I am as good as an enterprise, because they compare with the lower end, and I should get everything like an enterprise. Okay, of course, and the bigger one is a different bucket altogether. In our journey, we started mid. We chose not to go because we wanted a profitable business. That's how we started. Okay, so we deselected by default because we never had investor that much money to burn to build a product led. And you also need to look at it. There's a very interesting concept written in Crossing the Chasm book, a whole product. Okay, when you build a product which is which you envisage how it will work and when you're going to sell. That's your inside look. But when the customer buys the product, they have so many other things that they have to link to: training, integration, support. There's so many factors that they ask. In our business, in receivables management, Capitex must get integrated with ERP. So how did we go about? Limited money. So first we narrowed down Tally. Our first few customers are on Tally. Now Tally is a huge SME base. We deselected Tally. We deselected that SME base. So where will I sell Tally? So my ICP started defining Tally, X number of employees, X number of revenue in this segment. Can I build repeatability till I get to X number of or Y number of revenue? See how I've started defining my ICP, right? Clarity. When we started going to enterprises, initially, because my advantage I had connects in enterprise because I've been doing business. I could get those access points. Accessibility in B2B is when you go to enterprise, okay, mid to large. Accessibility is the biggest hurdle. Indecision is in the sales cycle, the competition, right? But before that, Accessibility is a problem because you don't have brand, right? So you don't have the tag of IBMs and the Googles or any of the bigger names. So you are going to carry your self brand and say give me meaning, right? So now after assume accessibility is there, still customer says your Capitex, we will not be able to buy you. Do ask them why, where am I lacking, what will make you buy from me. So there is a customer who said, if you get me 1, 2, 3, 4, I will buy from you. I like your product, I like this. So they said, get me this compliance, get me this readiness, and then we will buy. We said, how much time you can give me? They said, you tell us. So I said, if I give you an X time, will you buy from me? Done. So I took a moral commitment. It wasn't in writing, it was a moral commitment. Right? So that's how your enterprises will do. Because enterprise upfront is not going to come to you. Yeah. Right? But more you put into repeatability, even in the mid-market, you'll find there is a big business. Right? And even if you're India-centric, try and focus as much as possible in terms of less cost, less people heavy, faster execution, okay, more customer self-support. Okay, these are all, and you have to quantify from your business point of view. Otherwise, India, because the revenue per ARPU, what you call average revenue per customer, is not going to be so high. So you'll have to be, so like when we build Tally integration, so customers always had a problem that it will take days to integrate. We could do integration with Tally in 1 hour, but it took us 1 year to crack it. We failed because we were not having Tally expertise. We were in multiple partners. How much time? 5 minutes? Right. I covered some of these topics, right, in terms of defining ideal customers, or 1,000 employees, 10 million revenue, where is the location. So initially we started only in Bombay. We were in Pune, so we focused only on Mumbai. Then another city, then somewhere else, right? So that's way you define. Then even within the organization, who's the buyer persona? There are 2 buyer personas, like head of marketing and marketing manager online. Look at the pain points are required. The KPIs are different, right? So 6 months that I talked about in the initial phase, that was a period. I was not building anything. I didn't hire anybody. I was not building anything. I'd prepared a spreadsheet by industry, started mapping things, what pain points they have, is it, and then started building the repeatability. We saw that there is a horizontal product that we can build, but then we need to go and select on the industry, because I knew that philosophy, narrower I get, sharper I will be in my execution. I knew that. And I would urge you to also look at narrower you get, sharper you're going to get in your execution. Okay. So, but still we thought that we need to experiment, and that was a mistake we made of that experimentation. But startup, we experiment. But we quickly took a call, time we realized that we need to pause one and then focus only on one segment. It's very important for you to go through. So like, I was on this slide, okay. So now, when I talked about the whole product, right? So you can also decide like which technology, which industry, number of employees, whom are you going to, so now you can start picking up and build a repeatability, okay. So the problem statement, like, it will again start with, right, why is this problem getting created for this segment? If you decide to pick SAP, insurance segment, I'm going to focus on chief revenue officer with the revenue of so and so, and the market is going to be US and it's going to be New York. Then I know I have to only travel to New York. I don't have to go to Georgia, I don't have to go to any other cities. I'm going to find out how many such customers exist in New York, 10, 15, 20, 30. Narrow ho gaya. My LinkedIn connects, I have to send only 30 people. Will I get meeting with 30 people? Why are they not giving me 30 meetings? So will I face this problem across? Will my team, if I hire a salesperson, will I face this problem? And then whatever hypothesis you had about problem, why is this problem created for these guys? Okay. What input or environment is creating that problem? How much money is costing them? Time, whether it's costing them. Do you know it? Okay, what attempts have they made in the past to solve it? Do you know them? Right? What is the urgency to solve it now? And like I recently I met in Mumbai another customer in the manufacturing space, and he said, I want to do this automation. Da, da, da. I spent 45 minutes talking to him. Why are you automating it? He said, are you not convinced that I am? I said, it's not a question of convincing. I said, you are a customer. Then I explained to him, you are a customer in India, but I want to understand why are you automating? At what cost? Are you willing to pay? All these questions I asked him. Then I was convinced, because now he's a different ICP for me. When I go to a tech company, I'll say I have this 30 companies using it. Go talk to them. Manufacturing, I don't have a single reference. So what do? Same process. This process, it works. Once you get it right for one segment, you can keep repeating it.
So how did you use this table? You went in for the first meeting, came back with feedback and iterated on the table?
Keep iterating. See, the advantage I had was I came with 25 years of experience. That's the advantage I had. I'd done this, but I had it became a disadvantage because I had this legacy problem of I knew it. Entrepreneurs, the biggest problem we have is I know it. I had to shed that tag. And to shed that tag is go back to basic, go back to the market, try and understand. What are they telling you? The ones they started telling me, I started plotting them in a pattern. So you learn to plot that in the pattern, right? So it'll only help you. Yeah.
So when you are basically identifying a particular segment, is it a good idea to try multiple segments as compared to try one, fail and then next?
Well, at some stage you will have to. So now Saurabh, with your permission, if these questions will take a little longer, right? Because this is where the trap happens for founders. When you want to try multiple segments, okay, now let's use this chart. Okay, and in B2B, I do not know how horizontal the product is, but if when you say whole product, and one of the product component is either I have to give a specific workflow for that customer, like they could be in insurance, they could be in banking, they could be in mutual fund. I'm just taking BFSI as a segment, okay, or a stock broker, and within that there are so many sub segments. There are different ERPs. Now look how your organization tech teams start getting stretched. Okay, you have to build the product for different workflows. That's number one. You have to build the product for different technology. It's going to take enormous amount of bandwidth. Okay, the most valuable resource, after founder, if you're a techie founder and you can code, great. But then or else if you're a domain founder and you have a techie resource and tech team coming in, the most valuable resource in the first 1 to 2 years of your startup is an engineering team, because they are helping you create a product. Okay, they are not into services where one customer and another customer. You're building a product. If their bandwidth gets choked up with so many things, they will not be able to prioritize. They will give you a very substandard product. Right? Because look, swimming in a sea and swimming in a well or swimming in a river is 3 different ways of swimming. You can't repeat that. Okay, riding a 50cc bike, riding a 100cc bike and riding a 350cc bike, it's not anybody's cup of tea. Right? Building a technology in petrol versus building a technology in diesel are 2 different things. That's what happens when you're going to say, I'm going to pick up multiple segments and can I experiment it? Do that experimentation by doing all the validation. Try and say, if you have a problem, if I solve it, will you sign it with me? Then you commit. I'll again use a tech angle. Let's take an ERP angle because we don't have much time on this. If you have to look at SMB in India and what are the 2 ERPs or 3 ERPs they will use, 3-4 ERPs they will use? Tally, Busy. Now there are some, TCS started with Eon and 3-4. Right? That's how the SMB market is linked. If your product is linked to the ERP, okay, you will find millions of users of Tally, Busy and so on and so forth. Now I'll further segment it. Tally is across, Busy is up north. Their dominance. Okay. So that's the segment is. Do I need to now select one and build for that say 20 lakh base across India of Tally, or I want to build a 10 lakh base of only North? Okay. Now in that technology, how easy it is for you to integrate your product with that ERP and build your entire campaigns around that technology. Okay. It's a very short example, but if you have a product which has already been horizontal and SMB and it works, it doesn't have any integration, they can just come, pay, swipe the card, come on the cloud and start using it. Now your messaging becomes very crucial. I'm assuming that you have done all the product of self-help and there's no low human touch and all that stuff. Classic example that you can look at is Zoho, Freshworks. They are classic examples of SMB model. Okay, but within that you need to decide the messaging now, the marketing messaging. Okay, now if your marketing messaging is you're focusing on distributors. Okay, your message has to appeal to distributors. Right? Someone had asked, you had asked this, you go to Zoom Info, or get the database. Now, if your messaging for distributor will not appeal to a business services or a facility management company, smaller one, padega hi nahi. But now if you have 50 distributors on a website saying how the distribution business have improved in the SMB, you have created a big tribe. That becomes, it's more messaging because product is sorted. Now your promotion, you have shifted your focus from product, now you are shifting a strategy to place and promotion. Now you decide, I want to capture only Pune, Mumbai, Nasik and Kolhapur, just 4 cities in Maharashtra. I'm going to go deeper and I want to be the number 1 player there. My strategy is going to be, I'm going to go to BNI as my association partner in these cities. Your repeatability. Now you have similarly, who's the BNI equivalent in North? Who's the BNI equivalent in South? How I'm going to go promote it? Your strategy and execution, as I said, narrower you go, sharper. तुम्हारा resources कम लगेगा, खर्चा कम आएगा, तुम्हारा execution fast होगा. Make sense? Sorry, I've finished almost. Yeah, we're done. Summary point. Okay, this is a very important sentence you want to make. If at all one takeaway, ICB is not about who all you can sell. ICB is all about whom you want to sell. You can sell to anybody, right? But because you have defined that, you put that framework I talked about, problem, motivation, money, trigger. Okay, then whom you want to sell. That's where your question will come. Even if you have to scale, whom you want to sell. You can sell to everybody, boss. मैंने product बना दिया, मैं तो तोफ हूँ. Right? Yep, I mean, done. Right? Hope this was useful.